Hi everyone, I'm Lisa from ProWritingAid and welcome to another session in the ProWritingAid Writer Series. So my guest tonight is Robin Cutler. Robin, are you there?
I am here. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, great. So Robin is the Director of IngramSpark. She is committed to helping independent publishers easily get their content into the hands of readers all around the globe. So thank you for being here, Robin.
Thank you for having me.
So tonight, I'm just going to hand over to Robin. She's going to do a bit of a walkthrough about how IngramSpark works, because we get so many questions from writers who have a manuscript, have finished writing their book, they're ready to get it out into the world, and they just don't really know where to begin. So yeah, take us through what the next steps are.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us today. So I just wanted to stick this slide up really quick just to kind of give you a little bit of my background. Most recently, before I joined Ingram, I actually worked at Amazon and helped a little bit to establish CreateSpace. Some of you may be familiar with that. Before that, I was in the publishing industry in University Press Publishing. I also had my own publishing house a long time ago. So I thought we'd start off here really quickly just to kind of tell you a little bit about what's going on now, because I think the publishing business industry is in a transition period, especially because of the time that we're experiencing. Fortunately for Ingram, for IngramSpark, you know, even as businesses were being shut down around the world, we were always considered an essential business. So we've never shut down during the time of COVID. We've always been there, and things, you know, have been humming along. So, but, you know, there was at the very beginning of this, the feeling that everything was going to move to the ebook world. We definitely haven't seen that happen. Print is definitely very dominant. We've seen a slight rise in ebook and definitely in audio, but still print is the dominant format that, that our customers, our readers still are preferring. Things are definitely taking longer on the print side. So that's primarily because, you know, some printers have gone under and, you know, there are fewer and fewer printers printing books now, and we're one of them. So it's just taking longer to get your print orders. If you're an IngramSpark customer, you already know this. So the word I have to say about that is plan ahead. You know, plan for at least a 3-month supply of your books. If you're ordering yourself, plan, you know, to have inventory that's going to last you. 6 months is even better as we head into the holidays. So I just want to put that out there. And, you know, the self-publishers, I was just talking to Lisa about this. Self-publishers are prime for where the industry is headed. We have been for a number of years, but, you know, particularly during this time, with everything moving online, with publishers having to dig deeper and be a little scrappier, the way most self-publishers are anyway, you know, that's something where self-publishing is definitely going to be more and more dominant. We have at Ingram a few months ago started really shoring up our Ingram catalog. So we're weeding out some of the content that our retail customers don't really want. Some of that is blank journals, public domain content. There's been a lot of content that's suddenly thrown up around any trending topic. And, you know, our retail, our online resellers are not wanting that content. So on the front end, we're doing a lot more to start looking for that and sort of getting rid of that out of our catalog. So we put a notice out about some months ago, but I just wanted to kind of mention that again. And the other big trend is now there's more direct selling, especially self-publishers have been doing this for a long time, but we have new avenues for self-publishing. One is a new one in the US called bookshop.org, which is basically an online retailer like Amazon, but it also benefits independent bookstores. So you can, even as a publisher and an author, set up your own bookstore there. We also within Ingram have a self-publishing platform called Aereo, and then I also, that we've talked about before, but just wanted to mention that again. And then a lot of you are using and have set up your own Shopify accounts and are selling directly there. So I just wanted to mention these trends. So what exactly is selling right now? Well, with everybody moving home with their children, as you can imagine, children's books, especially activity book, picture books, lifestyle, cooking and fitness are really hot right now. Diversity books, Black literature and culture, especially around children's books, are really, really selling well. True crime, I have no idea why true crime is still selling so well in these kind of scary times, but true crime is really still there. And on the fiction side, you know, historical romance, mythology-based romance, we're seeing a lot of that.
Ben, I was just gonna say, do you want to turn off
Christian
do you want to turn off your video just so that we're getting a little bit of lag on your voice?
Oh, are you? Okay.
A little bit, yeah. It just might make it a bit better.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, I apologize for that. Christian and then classic poetry, and let me know if this is getting better for you.
Yeah, that sounds better.
Okay. Okay, let's see, now I can't forward the slide. There we go. I just wanted to kind of throw up some of our best sellers. So Self-Help, our #1 book is Can't Hurt Me. That's a book by an athlete who's also a military person that's written this phenomenal memoir, and also his story from rags to riches. That's really doing well. And then some of these other sort of books, the James Baldwin, The Complete Works, that's a book I think in the public domain that we're starting to sell really well. But these children's books and romance, here's some more here just to take a look. You may know Harry the Mouse series. Harry's got a whole bunch of new series. He's got one, I think, that's just now coming out that's about Harry stays at home. And that whole Harry series has been doing really, really well. So I always like to spend a little bit of time here because not everybody really knows what really Ingram is and how and the significance of Ingram. So Ingram is basically the world's largest wholesaler distributor of books. Ingram is also the world leader in print-on-demand technologies through a company that we started about 20 years, actually over 20 years ago, called Lightning Source. So this graphic kind of tells you the role that Ingram plays. So content providers, those are better known as authors and publishers, provide their book to Ingram or books to Ingram. Right now we have about 14 million in the Ingram catalog. And then Ingram makes those books available to online bookstores, to brick and mortar bookstores, to chain bookstores, libraries, who also make that content available direct to their consumers. So this graphic kind of tells you how this works. Ingram, where the 40,000 channel partners that was on the right there, the 40,000, this is what it's made up of. So internet retailers, Amazon, we also distribute to Target, Walmart, big stores like that, big box stores, physical stores like Costco, regional chain bookstores, Barnes & Noble, Waterstones in the UK, and then thousands and thousands of independent retailers around the world. We own a specialty wholesale channel called Spring Arbor that actually distributes to Christian stores. We sell to university stores, gift stores, museum stores, and school and public libraries. So, you know, everybody kind of says, well, what are you talking about when you talk about distribution? Basically, it's just a way to reach readers. And there's a couple of different ways that distribution actually works. The author selling direct from their website, in their social media, on their Shopify, you know, even selling directly at events. And then wholesale distribution, which is really what that graph of Ingram sort of depicted, where, you know, there's a catalog of content that then, you know, our bookstores and libraries are purchasing content from. There's also another part of distribution that most authors aren't party to, and that's called full service distribution. And this is where once a publisher or an author reaches a certain level of success in selling their content, you can actually get direct selling into bookstores where, you know, a sales rep group will present your book, like, to book buyers in the industry. Typically, and Ingram is the largest of this kind of distribution as well. So we represent about 600 publishers, from the very largest down to, you know, some that are doing really, really well with at least about 50 titles. So anyway, that's just good to know the different levels of distribution here. So I wanted to kind of drill in a little more about the differences here. So wholesale is basically, you know, we're just making your book title information and availability to purchase through data feeds that we send out. And then we provide the transaction between the trade partner, the distribution partner, and the content providers. This is a non-exclusive arrangement, and that's basically what you have with IngramSpark. So you're getting wholesale distribution through the IngramSpark platform. And then full distribution is typically an exclusive. So a publisher will contract with Ingram to represent their titles exclusively to the trade. And like I said, it's a pretty high bar in terms of, you know, if you're eligible for that kind of service. So things to know about wholesale distribution is it takes time. It's not that magical. Your title does go into the Ingram catalog and out into distribution feeds pretty quick, but you know, it takes time. It's not an overnight thing, and you need to plan ahead for this. And you're still the publisher of your work, and you still would let people know that your book is available, and it would be available from Ingram is what you would tell them. The retailers and the libraries prefer to order, you know, across multiple publishers' content all from one place, and that's why, you know, they like coming to Ingram. And then, you know, the last thing on this list, changes to your metadata like pricing. What's great about this is if you're set up with IngramSpark, you know, when you make those changes, they automatically get sent out to the channel partners who then update their site with that information. Print on demand, I want to talk a little bit about this. What's so great about print on demand is there's no inventory to manage. You can just print, you know, as you need to. There's no warehousing. You know, in the old days when I was a publisher, you know, I would have to plan and order inventory that would last for years. Now I'm saying, you know, plan 3 months in advance, and then you should be in pretty good shape. And then, you know, the great thing about print on demand is if you have a mistake, or say you win an award, or, you know, get a great endorsement, you can revise your content, and then every order after that gets updated with that new content. So IngramSpark, I actually created IngramSpark and launched it about 7 years ago now. And, you know, it is basically Ingram's self-publishing platform. And then we're going to drill in here a little more about what IngramSpark offers. I do like to brag a little bit about us here. We actually won an Authors Guild Award in 2017. For contributions to the literary community. And I actually was presented and accepted the award alongside Toni Morrison, which is maybe one of the highlights of my whole life and certainly my career. So, you know, she passed away last year. I do want to give a shout out. She's got, there's a documentary about her in Hulu and I think on Netflix now called Toni Morrison, The Pieces I Am. Toni Morrison was at one time an editor with Random House, and, you know, and now, you know, certainly ended her career as, you know, Nobel Prize winning author. But I really encourage you to check out that video. She talks a lot about the writing process and, you know, and what things that every writer needs to know. So that's me and Toni. So how it works. So And hopefully you've worked with a professional group like ProWriting that we're doing the presentation with today to create a professional book. And once you've finished your book, and that means you've finished the editing, you finished the design, and you have the digital files, you upload the book information and then the digital files. And then we also recently launched a book building tool within IngramSpark where you can actually format your book. If you haven't checked that out, you might want to check that out. That's been in the last few months. And then once you upload your book, you'll get an e-proof. You can look at that. We encourage you to order a print copy if you're placing or setting up as a print book. And then if you're satisfied, then you turn on the distribution. And when you turn on the distribution, the information of your book goes out, into the Ingram catalog, and from there goes out to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all of our trade partners. So it'll go live on their site. Their customers can order your book. When we get those orders, there's two different types of orders. The orders that you place as the publisher, those are called publisher direct orders. We manufacture those in the US, the UK, and in Australia, and then we can drop ship those orders wherever you want. So if you're taking orders from your website, you can go into your IngramSpark account, put those orders in through your account, and then have us kind of drop ship those for you. And at the time that you place those orders, you're paying printing and shipping. And then there are orders that come in from our trade partners, from our channel partners. When we receive those orders, we manufacture and ship those, and then you're paid for those orders 90 days later. So, and you got that just from uploading your book that one time. So things, and I'm sure Lisa kind of teaches and promotes a lot of this, but things that you need to really think about before you publish. It's really important to do your market research, especially if you're writing a nonfiction on the topic that you're writing about. Look and see what other books are out there, how your book is distinguished from other books in the marketplace. It's always a good idea when you're writing to know who your reader is, who your audience is that you're writing to. Have some idea about that through your research. Know what budget, how much money you can spend on this, especially, as a self-publisher. I always say, do not, under any circumstances, take out a second mortgage on your house, dip into your retirement fund. This is an enterprise that you really should pay as you go. You sell 5 books, you order 15 copies from those 5, you sell those 15, you just pay as you go so that you don't get yourself into financial trouble thinking that you're going to sell more than you actually are, especially for a new author that doesn't know the size of their readership. So I really want to say that. Work with professionals, definitely professional editors like ProWritingAid, designers and marketers, and pay for that. That's where you want to invest your money. Especially, I say, if you have to pick one thing or 2 things, it's a professional edit and a professional cover design. I think those are the 2 main things to invest in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think there's such an issue in the world of self-publishing that people are putting books out there that haven't been properly prepared, and I think you're really right there.
Yeah, and the other thing I see is just not even creating a book in the right structure. And I'll talk a little bit about that more this. The number one thing, and I say this over and over, and you may see this too, Lisa, that I see writers get wrong is the actual title. That is the most significant piece of metadata in selling your book, and I see it wrong all the time.
Have you got any quick tips?
I see a lot of cliche titles. I'll see titles that include catchphrases. So you have to think about your title as far as being able to be discovered online. So I see people creating titles, let's just say Achilles heel as an example, something that has Achilles heel in it. Well, think about that in times of search, because a title like that, you might end up getting a health professional, that specializes in heel industries or foot things, right? So that's the last thing you want. So, and make it unique, or you'll see a title that's very cliche, that is something that is known by and associated with another author. I mean, you can't copyright a title, but you can certainly, as creative people, come up with a unique title if at all possible. So I'll say that.
Good tip.
The cover design, a lot of authors have, especially as they're writing, they have something in mind for what they think the cover should look like. You have to remember the cover also has to work not only, life size, but also very small, like it's going to appear online. So, make the cover design work like that. If you're hiring a designer and the designer has a whole different concept, I would tend to believe the cover designer more than what your original concept was. Graphically, it needs to really, really work. So pay attention and respond to the tips from your cover designer.
Yeah, we had a good session with Nick Stevenson recently, and he was talking about how he had tested 3 different covers, and one of those 3 worked, 5 times as well as the other 2 in terms of generating sales. So try out different things, get feedback.
Yeah, this is something you can do as a way to engage also your readers in asking their opinions, right? And I know it costs more to have multiple cover designs, so I'm not going to be cavalier about that. I mean, I would have a cover designer kind of sketch out what they're thinking, maybe multiple times, and then maybe test that sketch before they finalize the design to kind of save some money for you. And I think that's probably a good way to go. The blurb, the elevator pitch, to me, it's less, I would prefer that it be well written. It's almost better that it include phrases and words that are going to help in the search, the SEO of your book. So, so think about that as you're writing your blurb. Get endorsements, especially on the nonfiction side. That's really, really important to establish yourself as an expert, in what you're writing about, and to get endorsements from others in your field. Be interesting in your author bio. Like, don't just talk about your 9 to 5. Like, really, I don't want to say embellish or lie about yourself, but definitely put your most creative self forward. And do that not only in the description about yourself as an author, but also in the photo. If you have a dog or cat, everybody wants, or children, whatever. If you love to garden, have the picture in your garden. I think that's really good. And there's no escaping social media. Nobody, we're all just kind of drained by social. I don't even want to go on social anymore. I'm just so tired of it all. But you can't do without it now. So what I advise is that you spend your time in the social channel that you are the most successful in already, and the one that you most enjoy, and kind of double down on that and maybe let some of the others go. But it is important to have a social presence. I actually am more social on Twitter, and secondarily on Facebook. I'm 3rd on Instagram, but I don't love Instagram. I know that's where everybody is now. I kind of don't get just pictures of everything and why that's that interesting. But anyway, anything you want to add there, Lisa?
Yeah, I think Instagram is sometimes tricky for authors because we're word people. I'm not crazy about Instagram either.
Yeah.
It also may be because we're of a certain age compared to the younger people who might be here today. But I feel like Twitter and Facebook allows me to play a lot more with words and be less dependent visually.
Yeah. So this is the other thing when you're setting up your book, and I'm gonna go into a little bit about metadata, but this is one of the pieces that you need to kind of think about before you publish, is the price and also the wholesale discount that you want to offer people, bookstores and libraries that are going to be purchasing your book. So this example kind of gives a little bit of an idea of how this works. In this example, you know, theoretically, you've investigated, you know, a price, a competitor price would be good. I wouldn't compare myself with a best-selling author. I would compare myself with other lesser known authors that are writing something similar to you and how they're pricing their book. The discount, so your choice in IngramSpark is to set a discount between 30 and 55% off the retail price. And 53 is kind of the magic number where that provides the discount that bookstores are looking for. But you can set up, if your book is primarily selling through Amazon, you can get away with a shorter, a lesser discount. But that's something that you really need to think about. And then from this example shows you, you know, what you're actually going to earn and be paid. So make sure you go to our site, you look at our publisher compensation calculator tool, and you kind of play around with this. This is really kind of important. This can all be changed, you know, even after you've published your book, but it's a better idea to kind of do some research on this before you start. So as I said earlier, and Lisa can talk actually a lot more competently about this than I can, but I like this slide because this is the #1 thing I think you should invest in is editing. And, you know, there's really about 4 different stages of editing. And you'll see here that your mom is the only one that's listed in the first stage. And then on the last stage, you know, something that maybe you recommend this, Lisa, but something I definitely recommend is to actually read your book aloud, especially if you're writing fiction. Hear the dialogue, see if that sounds like, you know, how people talk. And
yeah, I love reading things aloud. I read everything aloud, you know, even if I'm just on Twitter, I read it out loud because it's hard to hear it in your own head.
Yeah, so I know it's cumbersome and it takes a lot of time, but it really will help you catch things in the last stage, and I would do that last. So invest in editing, invest in book design. You know, like I said earlier, especially the front cover. I mean, I think this is really important. You know, it's going to cost you more if you design a non-standard trim size. So I would suggest, you know, go along with standard right now and has been for a long time. 5.5 by 8.5, 6 by 9, you know, 7 by 10 for a bigger book. On the smaller size, like 4 by 6. So we have a number of standard sizes. And then test the design, and you know, you mentioned this before, Lisa, test the design alongside other books. Take your book, now we can't do this so well, and a few months ago, you could have taken your book into a library, you know, or just take the printout of the cover design, take it into a library or bookstore, and actually stand it up where you think your book would be found in that, you know, in that store. And look at your book alongside others. I think that's really important.
I think it's really important to make sure that it fits in the genre that you're writing for as well, because people they like crime, for example. There's a certain aesthetic that people expect when it comes to crime novels or mystery or historical fiction, and I think they're more hesitant to pick it up if it doesn't look like what they think it should look.
What they know. Yeah, exactly. It is going to cost you, you know, anywhere, you know, from a couple of hundred all the way up to thousands, depending. So, you know, make sure, you know, that you're planning your resources there. I consider the front cover essential, like you were saying, Lisa, to have somebody actually pick the book up, but it's the back cover, which would include your endorsements, blurbs, your bio. You know, that's what really makes them take it to the register. And, you know, don't forget about the spine of the book. When you're working with a designer, make sure to ask them and put this in your agreement with what you're contracting with them to do. Have them give you, multiple formats. So you need a design for a paperback, for a hardcover, for an audio if you're going to be doing an audio, for an ebook. So make sure you're getting all of those designs when you're working with your designer.
Yeah, and I'm sure everyone can look at their bookshelf and see that one spine that really stands out, that they can just, like on my bookshelf right now, I'm looking up and I can see The Godfather, and it just stands out from everything else. It's really visually captivating. So that's what you want.
Yeah, here's just a few examples of books I like. And look at this Her book. This doesn't even have the author's name on it. There's a Her Volume 1, and this is a collection of poetry. The little kids and their big dogs, and you look in, what is that? That's a dog standing next to that little kid. And it kind of makes you pull in. And then Laura Miller's book, I love this one too, because it's colorful, but you have to pause to really see what exactly those shapes are. And then David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me, a simple title. That picture is worth 1,000 words, exactly what that book's about, right? So I like that. Invest in marketing, DIY, do it yourself or hire. You're definitely going to have to spend either time and or money, and probably both, to market your book. Even if you are going with traditional publishing, you still have to do this. Mm-hmm. And it's important, if you don't have a website, it's important to have that, to pay attention to the social media like I was talking about, and then all the stuff you have to do pre-publication. This is really, really important. So metadata, this is the information about your book. This is metadata that really is important for the distribution of your book. The title, description. The other thing to pay attention to is, when you're setting up your book, you fill out this information like in a form, like the author, the contributor of the book, on the book. But you need to make sure that this information matches what's actually on the finished design cover. So if you, in your metadata, say you're John A. Smith, but on the cover design it just says John Smith, that's going to create some confusion in the marketplace. You don't want to ever have that happen. So make sure things really match perfectly. Make sure your subject categories, in the library world it's called BISAC, in the retail world it's called THEMA. You can select 3 different subject categories for your book. You want to start at the most general, and then actually add categories that make it more and more specific, to help your book be discovered. That's what all of this is about, is discoverability of your book. The format, if you're working with a series, even if you decide after you've published your first book and you're into your second or third and you go, gosh, this kind of could be part of a series, you can go back and add a series to that first book, and then now you have a series. The keywords, this isn't anything that shows up on a website itself. This is something that's used in algorithms like what Amazon has for your book to be discovered. So you provide that when you're setting up your book, and really think about it. And Google and Amazon actually have some tools that you can actually use to test that. Imprint name, which is your publisher name that goes out into the world. I don't believe that your imprint name should, if you're self-publishing, should be your name. I think your imprint name, your publisher name should sound grand and glorious and sound like you've been around for a while. And hopefully it should also, harken back to the kind of content that you're publishing. So also test imprint names too. I think that's valuable. Metadata that helps you sell is your author bio. We now have added more metadata fields around the author information, including you know, what part of the universe you live in. And we're doing that. For instance, if our local bookseller says, you know, I'd like to have an event with local authors, you know, we would then be able to, you know, let them know this is some content in your area that you might want to feature. So that's why we're starting to ask for that kind of metadata. It's not anything beyond that, just trying to help sell better in different communities. Reviews, you know, it's always good to spend time. TOC is table of contents. It's really great and really essential for nonfiction work to have a table of contents that's also part of your metadata that gets fed out, because that will help discoverability of your book. The audience is really something that retailers are asking for us to designate, especially on the children's side. So if you say that your book is for a juvenile audience, you'll also have to provide not only the age, but the grade range of the child, the age range and the grade range. ISBNs, this could be a whole nother webinar, Lisa, but I definitely advocate that self-publishers should own their own ISBNs. IngramSpark just recently started providing free ISBNs, but just like KDP or Smashwords, any entity that offers free ISBNs to authors, that is going to tie your content to that entity. And you know, that might work for a while, but at some point it might not work for you. So I advocate that you own your own ISBN from the get-go, and it's a good practice. Pricing in global markets. So when you provide your list price, you'll also want to make your book available globally, and you'll do that by providing you know, that converted price in other markets, and that's how you make your book globally available. And then we talked a little bit about discount, and I want to just mention returnability. So you do have an option to make your book non-returnable if you're worried about returnability, and that's something that you should really think about. You can make your book non-returnable, but you know, some place like Barnes & Noble's not going to buy your book if it's non-returnable. Amazon will buy your book non-returnable. So, you know, that's something that you can also change over time. But something that, you know, if you do want to make your book as widely available and get the most sales, returnability is something that most bookstores are looking for. And then the publication date and the on sale date. This is if you want to make your book available before it can actually, it's actually really ready so that we can take pre-orders. That is the way that you do that, by setting up a date into the future when your book's available. So here's a couple examples. Indie author success. I keep talking about David Goggins. He, you know, what he did is really establish himself as an online presence. His book is not so much about the book, even though that's our top selling book and he's doing really well. It's more about his platform, you know, and what he's trying to create for himself. The book is just kind of a vehicle that kind of helps that. And so he's done a really good job of doing that. He posts videos on his social. You know, that's the same thing that I think an author should do. You should be posting, creating, you know, small little videos. They shouldn't be long, but everybody's, you know, your readers are interested in you as an author, and they're interested in your motivation, what, you know, why you wrote this book, what exactly, you know, were you trying to do with it, and also, you know, your story about putting that book together. So think about YouTube is the one I should say is to me really significant and important to start creating, you know, some content about yourself as an author on YouTube. Just want to mention this briefly. We're working now with a lot of libraries and bookstores that are actually starting to offer author services. These are some that we're working with that, you know, in their own communities, they themselves are creating books for authors. So this is something fairly new that is kind of happening. And I also want to say, don't forget about creating books for fun. This little book is one, I have a grandson who's 7 years old. When he was 5, I got invited to his birthday party, and I just took pictures of the party, and I didn't think anything about it. And then when I got home and I was looking at the pictures, I went, oh, well, I think I could make a little story out of this and a little treasure for him to always have. And so that's what I did. I created, I took the pictures, I used a free app called Prism, and I turned the pictures into artwork. It didn't cost me anything. I uploaded it to IngramSpark, and then, this little book's now available for Amazon. People actually buy it. It's kind of amazing.
I love it. That's so sweet.
And anybody can do this, right? So don't just be like always doing the grind of publishing. Just do some fun things. I think that'll help to give you a boost too, right? I did want to kind of spend a moment here talking about our book building tool. If you haven't seen it, it's free. It's available in the IngramSpark account. Basically how it works is you will have finished your editing, have a finished document file, you upload it, you pick the template, and then you can format your book really easily within the tool. And then, it formats it. There's a cover thing. If you've worked with a cover designer, you can, put your front cover, you can lay it in there and make sure it's going to fit right. So I just want to kind of briefly give you a preview of that.
This is really exciting.
Yeah, it's very cool. You can use the ProWritingAid Chrome extension in it as well, just to do any last minute editing while you're in there.
Yeah, so I just want to leave you here. I personally believe that authors are the cream of humanity, and the work that you do really, really matters to all of us. Creative people and writers through the history of the world, have always kind of forwarded, how we all evolve as humans. And so I like that the work that I do enables the work that you do. And so, keep up the good work, for sure. I know being a writer is really hard, and that's why most people don't do it. But I'll leave you here with a free code you can use to set up a book through the end of the year. This will be part of the slide deck. And then this is how you can connect with us through our social media. And then this is how you can connect directly with me.
Great.
So any questions, Lisa?
Yeah, we've got quite a few questions here. Let's try and get through as many as we can. So Jonathan wants to know if you still benefit from lending fees if you sell your books into libraries.
If you benefit from what kind of fees?
Do you get any fees for lending if you get your book into a library, or is it a one-time fee from?
Oh yeah, no, it's a one-time. The library purchases your book and then they lend it, and that's all you ever get out of that. There are some ebook services. I think we'll start seeing some more of that, where you're actually going to get paid depending on how many readers actually read your book. There's some subscription models for that I think are going to benefit authors going forward.
Okay. So what are your percentages? Christy wants to know, what are your percentages of sales for print versus ebook versus audio?
So we don't currently distribute audio. I hope that we'll have that. So I'm not going to address that. I hope we have that in 2021. We're certainly testing that right now. On the ebook side, we're in the middle of also changing our service there. Today, we actually pay out 40% of the list price that you put on the ebook, and it's 40% of the list price, not the net price. And that basically comes down to what a lot of the other services are that are out there, which is kind of an 85-15 split. That's what we're moving to, and you'll start to see that probably by the end of the year, where we're going to take 15% and then pay you 85% of what we earn on your ebook. On the print side, I talked about that earlier. It's based on the discount that you put on the book, anywhere from 30 to 55%. So if you put a 30% discount on your book, you're going to earn 70% on that.
Okay, yeah, I dropped the calculator into the chat there, so if anybody wants to have a quick look and go and test it out for themselves. Do you have any key tips for people for what they should do looking at different markets? So say US compared to European markets?
Well, the US, I think, is certainly our experience in IngramSpark is the US market is the strongest. So if you're in the UK, one way to make your book available in the US is to do that through IngramSpark, putting a US price on your book. With Amazon being global, that's becoming less and less so, I think. I think the country sort of specific stuff is kind of going away, and with everybody moving online, I don't even think it's going to be that much of a difference anymore, to be honest with you.
Okay. Felicity says, if you're selling direct, what happens with sales tax? Can you confirm that it depends on the buyer's location and not the seller's?
So yeah, it does depend on the buyer's location, and Amazon is charging that tax. You don't have to worry about it on that side. But selling direct, it should be something that you should be kind of keeping up with. You might want to talk to a tax person about that, and reporting as revenue. We don't in the U.S. We used to send information to the IRS based on, what our publishers were selling. We haven't done that for a couple of years. So it's up to the publisher to kind of report that out.
Okay.
And to collect and then pay it, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Jocelyn says, if I'm writing under a pseudonym and anonymity is critical, how do I establish a presence on social media and create my brand?
I see that all the time. You just kind of create your pseudonym, kind of goes forward as that pseudonym sort of persona, through your socials. So, you can even have a different picture. I mean, it doesn't have to be you. It can be anything you want it to be, right?
Yeah, your pseudonym can have social accounts. Your pseudonym can have their own author page. You can create a whole world for this person you've created.
A whole nother family, right? Your dream family, your dream family.
Exactly. Okay. Anora says, do you have any recommendations in terms of finding a good editor and a good designer?
ProWritingAid is a good place to start, right?
That's a good place for doing your self-edit. But we're only one step in the process, and I think there's always room for a professional editor once you're done with us.
Yeah, I actually, and we recommend on the IngramSpark site, we have a number of experts that we recommend. The Freelance Editors Association is one. Reedsy, REEDSY, is an online service where you can find anything related to anything you need being an author. That's a site I definitely recommend. So how that works is you go on the Reedsy site and say you want somebody to help you write your marketing copy for your book. You can put that in there, and then you'll get a couple of quotes back from different freelancers that are on the other side of that service.
Yeah, and I think it's really good to find the editor that you think you can work with really well, because that's a really important relationship, and it needs to be someone that you can trust and who understands what you're trying to get across, and maybe someone in your genre as well. Yeah, think of it a little bit like dating. find the one that's right for you. And
somebody
cover
you
designers
like.
is probably the same as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the best endorsement's one coming from another author, really, and somebody you know that's happy with who they're working with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and someone told me their favorite trick the other day was to go and look at like some of their favorite books that they like and look in the back cover and find out who edited it and who designed that cover, and then get in touch with them that way. Because if they're creating something that you like, they can probably create, you know, something that you will be satisfied with in the end.
Yeah, there's also a, and if you're looking, actually, if you're looking for on the traditional side still, you know, there's a reference book. You can, I think you can get it online and go to it now. It's called Literary Marketplace. It has all the publishers listed, who the editors are, who the people are you contact, what sort of content they would be looking to acquire. And there's some also professionals on the book design and marketing side, to promotion side as well.
Yeah, yeah. So Willita says, what about tips for distributing your passion project? So if your goal is to reach as many people as possible rather than earn a ton of money from it, do you need a different strategy?
Well, yeah, so you might want to, you definitely should have a website. You definitely should have, you know, some author magnet content there that you're offering for free. Start developing your website, create maybe
Building
your own
your email list.
Yeah, create your storefront. And, you know, and I think offering free, if you're just trying to find readers, you know, there's definitely ways to go about that. Book Funnel is another resource. BookBub is one where a lot of authors, typically you have to be more established to get a BookBub listing. You know, there's just a lot of different reading platforms out there where you want to establish your presence, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's always good to find your people. So if you feel something really passionate about something, there's probably other people that do and other websites that you can partner with. I love it when, you know, two authors that have a similar sort of area of interest promote each other's books to the audiences that they've developed. Or, you know, guest posting on websites,
blogs, mm-hmm.
to give things away.
Yeah, I know a couple of writers that write for juvenile boys, and one's in the western part of the U.S. and the other one's in the eastern part of the U.S. And they do exactly what you just said, where they trade back and forth. You know, they'll do cross promotions at schools with teachers and librarians and things like that.
Yeah, find your people, like create a crew and help each other. You know, that's sort of what Robin and I are doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we've got a couple more, but I'm aware that we're running out of time. So Larry says, if publishing with IngramSpark gets you into the catalog, you still have to do all of your own outreach in order to make all of the sales, right? There's nothing as part of it that you do the outreach. So
That's right. Yeah, you in your outreach would say my book's available from Ingram. Like if you're reaching out to your local bookstore even, or to a Barnes & Noble, if you tell them my book is available from Ingram, and you can even present it like you're the publisher and it's not your book, right? And say, you know, here's the information about it. My book's available from Ingram. They'll go into the Ingram catalog. It solves the problem for them in trying to work with you. Yeah.
Well, and once you've come up with your glorious and great publisher company name, which I love.
Grand and glorious.
Grand and glorious, that's right. Make it sound impressive. Yeah, and I think that's the problem that authors have or a lot of authors have, is it's hard to promote yourself, and it's hard to go out and say, I wrote this really great book, please will you keep it in your shop. But that's what you need to do, and creating, you know, this other entity that can do it for you, even if it's you pretending to be this grand and glorious publisher. It just makes it easier.
Yeah, now's not the time to be shy. Like, you have to wear two different hats. You have to wear your author hat, and then you literally have to take that off and put on your publisher hat. and think of yourself as your client, right? You as the author or the client of you as the publisher, and try to have some distance in how you think about that, right? And don't be shy about promoting your author, which is you.
Which is you, yeah. We're actually our next newsletter, the theme is finding your readers, and we've got a whole thing going on with Nick Stevenson, who does a lot of book marketing stuff, and he's really good at helping writers find the promotional avenues that feel good for them, because some people are fine doing loads of blog posts, and some people feel fine on Twitter, and figuring out which are the ones that feel good, so that you don't dread it, because I think a lot of authors just dread the idea of going and selling themselves off. So if you're not signed up to our newsletter, grab it, because that is coming out, I think, next Tuesday. We've got a whole bunch of content there. I'm going to drop those links again here so that you've got them.
And I will say, don't forget video. It's really important to have a lot of video content. It's so easy now with iPhones, and everybody has somebody that can just stand there and hold the camera and you can talk to it, right? So there's no excuse not to have video content.
Yeah, and it feels scary the first couple of times, and then eventually it doesn't anymore, and then you can just put it out there and chat. And with the first few webinars that we did, it just felt terrifying to me, and now I don't even think anything of it. So you can all do it. It can all happen. Yeah. Okay, good. That's it. We're out of time. Well, thank you so much, Robin.
Thank you.
If you guys learned something today, let her know in the chat before we go. And thank you, everyone who's come out again. I can see a lot of familiar names, so it's always nice to have you back. And thank you again, Robin. That was great. I can see lots of people appreciated and learned a lot.
Yeah, if you, Lisa, if you want to send me any of these questions, just email them to me, and then I'll try to email back some answers too.
Okay, that sounds good. Shelley says, awesome presentation. Jocelyn says, thank you, Robin. Oh, there's loads.
Thank you, guys. You guys are awesome. I love you all, and good luck to all of you.
All right, great. Stay safe, everybody. We'll see you soon. Bye.